The current social upheaval concerning same-sex marriage and transgender equality should give one pause. The metaphysics of evolution wreaks as much havoc in the understanding of gender and sexuality as it does with overall morality. There is a direct relationship between the evolutionary nature of gender and the mutability of gender identity and sexual behavior in modern society. In the metaphysics of the gospel of Jesus Christ, gender is an essential and eternal characteristic of all human beings. With a metaphysical understanding that gender is eternal and immutable, the theology of sexuality becomes straightforward. The doctrine of eternal marriage, the conjoining of male and female in a mutually fulfilling relationship, necessarily follows. The end product of the marriage between male and female, of course, is children. The eternal family, therefore, becomes a fundamental doctrinal tenet of eternal gender and sexuality. Eternal marriages and families are protected by ethical standards that ensure their endurance in the eternities. Sexual morality is a natural outflow of both eternal gender identity and its inherent relationships. The metaphysical, theological, ethical pyramid of eternal gender looks like this. The ethics of evolutionary gender and sexuality is quite different than that of the gospel. The origin of sexual reproduction in animals, including man, is one of the enduring mysteries of science. No one really knows why there is sexual reproduction, though there is no lack of competing theories. The existence of sexual reproduction is especially puzzling given the fact that asexual reproduction, from an evolutionary viewpoint, is more efficient. What's more, animals that reproduce sexually have evolved from the last universal ancestor. The last universal ancestor, so current theory attests, appeared 3.5 to 3.8 billion years ago. But sexual reproduction first appeared 1.2 billion years ago. How asexual organisms transform themselves into sexual organisms has not been explained. Of course, all this is mere conjecture, since the origin of sexual reproduction can't be tested. The bottom line is that science has no metaphysics for sexual reproduction. They simply do not know how it came to be and why. Without a definitive evolutionary explanation for how and why sexual reproduction came to be, gender and sexuality become mutable. They become whatever one wants them to be. For example, since man is an animal among animals, he would be expected to repeat the same behaviors exhibited in the animal kingdom. Observed behavior in the animal kingdom becomes acceptable, or even expected behavior for humans, who are also animals. Indeed, homosexual behavior in animals has been successfully argued in the United States Supreme Court to justify homosexuality in humans. With this in mind, there really are no moral limits as to what can be justified, since every imaginable sexual behavior can be found in the animal kingdom. The metaphysical pyramid for evolutionary gender and sexual reproduction looks like this. This construct is not a mere hypothetical, it is being acted out in real life. This clip from a lecture on the evolution of sex and reproductive strategies by a Yale professor is a case in point. Rape, along with the murder of sexual competitors, it turns out, is simply another mechanism for successful reproduction. As the professor puts it, rape is a wonderful instrument of gene flow in the human population.
So the answer is, it is brutally difficult to reproduce. If any given individual in a species produces a lot of children, more than one or two, depending on how you're counting, then that means that some other individuals are having less. Again, unless the species are humans, which are about the only species that are increasing continuously over the long time. As an example, they now, by this genetic testing, have tested how many descendants does Genghis Khan have? And the answer is 16 million descendants, this one guy. So that's an awful lot. But guess how he did it? By killing a lot of men and raping their women. So he has that many descendants because an awful lot of men, all the men he killed, don't have any descendants. And that's just Genghis Khan. The Mongol horde had a lot of males. And I think they spread their seeds quite widely. And a lot of males and conquered people just didn't survive. So, and of course, every army in the world has done, or essentially all, have done a huge amount of raping. And it's a wonderful instrument of gene flow in the human population.